Welcome back to Reviews and Rankings with Robby Sobel. Today I'll be ranking the entire Halloween franchise from worst to best. In 1978, John Carpenter came together with a young but talented group of individuals and with a small budget of just over $300,000, created one of the most iconic films in the horror genre. With the release of one film, a subgenre of slasher films was immortalized, as was the careers of Carpenter himself, the film's star Jamie Lee Curtis, and the horror icon known as Michael Myers. In the over 40 years since the film's release, the franchise has totaled 11 different movies, with at least 2 more on the way. So without further ado, here is the entire Halloween franchise ranked. In at number 11 is Halloween Resurrection, released in 2002. Following the release of Halloween H2O in 1998, it was only a matter of time before the studio would capitalize on the film's financial success. After struggling to find a story and script that worked, and with the threat that Jamie Lee Curtis would leave the project, Halloween Resurrection went into production and was released in July 2002. After an interesting opening scene that ends in the head-scratching death of the main story's final girl in Laurie Strode, the rest of the story plays out in the old Myers house as Michael Myers stalks and kills a group of college students participating in a reality show. Known mostly for the comedic failure of rapper Busta Rhymes karate kicking his way through Michael Myers, Halloween Resurrection stands out only for being the biggest dud in the series as it lands with a 1.5 out of 5-star rating. At number 10 is Halloween 5, The Revenge of Michael Myers, released in 1989. Following the financial success of Halloween 4, The Return of Michael Myers in 1988, the studio was quick to rush a sequel into production as the 5th entry in the series was released less than a year later. While Halloween 5 does include several positives, like yet another stellar performance by Donald Pleasence as Dr. Sam Loomis, and Danielle Harris continuing her evolution as Jamie Lloyd, the film just doesn't pack enough punch to rise above most of the other entries in the franchise.
When are they going to realize that she is not him? She's just a child.
They know that Michael Myers is her uncle, and that she attacks her stepmother. That's why they fear her, especially on Halloween.
Michael Myers' mask stands out like a sore thumb, as does several of the plot points that leave the audience cringing, including the quick demise of Part 4's lead character, Rachel, as she's replaced by the controversial and ever-annoying Tina. While not the worst in the franchise, Halloween The Revenge of Michael Myers comes only recommended when binging the series at 2.5 out of 5 stars. In the number 9 spot is Halloween H2O, released in 1998. After the critical failure of Halloween The Curse of Michael Myers in 1995, the franchise was at a crossroads as the storyline had become convoluted for many in the mainstream audience. In an attempt to retcon the series, Halloween H2O ignores the events of the previous entries and uses Part 2 as a jumping-off point, bringing back the character of Laurie Strode, with Jamie Lee Curtis making her return. H2O was a financial and mild critical success upon its release, but it continues to lose steam as each year goes by. Writer Kevin Williamson, best known for his work on the hit TV show Dawson's Creek and the Scream franchise, was brought on board to write the script, and unfortunately doesn't do the story any favors. H2O feels too influenced by the slashers of the late 1990s as opposed to being grounded in what made Michael Myers in the Halloween franchise stand out. While H2O does conclude with a memorable ending, it lacks an atmosphere that makes it feel disconnected from the rest of the series, as the movie lands with a 3 out of 5-star rating. The number 8 spot belongs to Halloween 3, Season of the Witch, released in 1983. With the Michael Myers storyline wrapped up following the events of Part 2, producer Mustafa Akkad and his team attempted to change the direction of the Halloween series by releasing new films under the Halloween banner, while creating an anthology of stories linked to the holiday. However, time has been kind to the film as it's grown to become a cult classic, as the story follows a doctor, played by Tom Atkins, and a woman named Ellie, whose father was mysteriously murdered, as the two attempt to stop the plot of an evil mask maker that is planning a mass murder of children on Halloween night. While not a great film, Halloween 3 is a fun offshoot entry into the series that is a can't-miss flick to check out during the Halloween season, as it lands with a respectable 3 out of 5-star rating. The 7th spot on the list goes to Rob Zombie's Halloween, released in 2007. Once it was announced that Rob Zombie would be remaking John Carpenter's classic, the news was received with a mixed reaction, as the controversial director was fresh off his successful film The Devil's Rejects in 2005. Zombie's take on the origin of the story was different, as the first half of the film reveals Michael Myers' early years, showing him as a child and being raised in an abusive home. The back half of the story follows a similar beat to the original, but dialed up to 10, as it's an intense and uncomfortable film, straying from the more subtle original. Gone are the suspenseful moments where Michael Myers lurks from a distance and kills in a more stylistic fashion. And in its place are vicious murders that are highlighted by Rob Zombie's close-up shots and use of quick and panic cutting. Fans of the franchise have been divided, with some hailing it as a brutal masterpiece, but with many others trashing the film for spitting on the legacy of a character and series made famous decades earlier. I can see both sides, and while Rob Zombie's remake is not on the level of the original film, it still holds its own with a 3 out of 5-star rating. At number 6 is Halloween, released in 2018. After Rob Zombie's Halloween 2 received mixed to negative reviews, it took nearly a decade to go by before a new entry into the franchise was delivered. With Halloween in 2018, the series is once again eliminating previous films from the continuity, this time jumping off from the original 1978 movie and removing the brother-sister subplot that was introduced in Part 2. Jamie Lee Curtis returns once again as Laurie Strode as she meets Michael Myers 40 years later after he breaks out of prison. The film has its positives, with James Jude Courtney playing Michael Myers perfectly, as he provides the audience with sheer terror. John Carpenter returns to the franchise by delivering one of the best scores in the series, which makes for a great companion piece to the original. Jamie Lee Curtis once again nails it as Laurie Strode, but the film is not without its faults. With an uneven tone and questionable acting from several characters, Halloween is solid, but falls short of being the great film many were hoping for, with a 3.5 out of 5-star rating. The number 5 spot belongs to Halloween, The Curse of Michael Myers, released in 1995, with a special emphasis put on the producer's cut of the film over the theatrical. Halloween, The Curse of Michael Myers continues the storyline from Part 5 and dives deeper into the Cult of Thorn plot that has left many fans divided. The story explains that Michael Myers' bloodline was inflicted with an ancient druid curse of thorn, and that he's returned to kill off the surviving members of his family. While the story sounds ridiculous, the film is incredibly entertaining and comes with some of the best atmosphere in the franchise, as well as the final acting appearance of Donald Pleasence in his legendary role of Dr. Sam Loomis. George P. Wilbur returns as Michael Myers, having previously donned the mask in Part 4, and once again does a solid job. The film also marks a co-starring role for Paul Rudd, who plays an adult Tommy Doyle, the young boy who Laurie Strode babysat for in the original film. While the movie was released in 1995, a producer's cut floated around the internet for years before getting an official release in 2014. Personally, I prefer the producer's cut, as it provides a more traditional score, more detailed character moments, a story that links together with the Thorn cult mythology, and an ending that just makes more sense than that of the theatrical, as the 6th film in the franchise delivers a 3.5 out of 5-star rating. The number 4 spot goes to Halloween 4, The Return of Michael Myers, released in 1988. After Halloween's Season of the Witch proved to be a commercial and critical failure, the studio brought back Michael Myers in Halloween 4 and did so in a major way. The film shows Myers breaking out of prison during an ambulance ride as he makes his way back to Haddonfield with his niece as his main target. The film kills off the character of Laurie Strode and in her place puts Jamie Lloyd, Strode's daughter played by Danielle Harris, as she is adopted by a local family in town. The movie provides the atmosphere any fans of the franchise would love to see, as well as strong characters, including great chemistry between Jamie Lloyd and her adopted sister, Rachel. Several of the supporting cast are standouts, as well as Donald Pleasant's Sam Loomis giving one of his best performances as the character. The film concludes with one of the best endings in the franchise that is as memorable and shocking as it was nearly 30 years ago, as the fourth Halloween pulls in a strong 4 out of 5-star rating. Ranked at number 3 is Rob Zombie's Halloween 2, released in 2009. While Rob Zombie's Halloween received mixed reviews, it did bring in enough cash for the studio to greenlight a sequel, which was pushed into production just a year later. Though his first film limited him to certain parameters, Rob Zombie was given more creative freedom with the sequel, and it shows. Halloween 2 follows Laurie in the aftermath of the events of the first film, as she is dealing with severe PTSD, with her mental state negatively impacting those around her.
Are you a giant?
Michael Myers is shown to have survived being shot by Laurie and is back on the hunt. Rob Zombie's Halloween 2 is more vicious and intense than his previous effort, but it's done well and marks an entry into the franchise that is memorable to say the least. The acting is also a standout, with Scout Taylor Compton, Daniel Harris, and Brad Dourif all giving performances that are some of the best of the entire series. The film is also unfairly criticized for several reasons, with one being the use of the white horse that is seen through Laurie's visuals as she continues her mental breakdown. The horse is simply used as symbolism, and out of the entire 2-hour movie, has less than 5 minutes of screen time and doesn't deserve to be the focus of such negative feedback. Though Rob Zombie's Halloween 2 is not for everybody, it finds its way towards the top of my list with a 4 out of 5-star rating. In the runner-up spot at number 2 is Halloween 2, released in 1981. With the original Halloween becoming a breakout success, a sequel found its way on screen 3 years later, with the story continuing from exactly the same point where the first movie left off. While Part 2 doesn't bring much of the suspense like Carpenter's classic does, it makes up for it with the injection of mayhem inside the isolated atmosphere of Haddonfield Hospital, all anchored by yet another solid performance by Donald Pleasance as Sam Loomis. Halloween 2 delivers a more upbeat score that meshes well with the intensity of the film that is dialed up in comparison to the original. The film also includes several memorable kills, with the infamous knife to the back of the nurse, and the hot tub scene that have both gone on to become fan favorites of the franchise. The sequel might not be as good as its predecessor, but I find it to be more rewatchable as the ride has already kicked into gear, with Halloween 2 delivering a 4.5 out of 5-star rating. And finally, in at number 1 is the original 1978 classic, Halloween. The story of Michael Myers breaking out of the Smith Grove Sanitarium to return to his hometown of Haddonfield and stalk his way through Halloween night has become one of the most recognizable plots in cinematic history. For over 40 years, Michael Myers has become a household name and a horror icon, with a franchise that includes 11 feature films, with at least 2 more on the way over the next 2 years. What else can be said about a film that has made the impact that Halloween has on cinema over those last 4 decades? A simple but effective story was somehow crafted so well by director John Carpenter that it's become one of the landmark films in American history. From the direction and cinematography, to the acting, score, atmosphere, and pacing, Halloween stands on its own as a must-see classic that's helped define an era of films in ways that very few have done before or since, as the original classic holds a 5 out of 5-star rating. I hope you enjoyed my ranking for the Halloween franchise, but what are your thoughts? Leave them down in the comments below. And if you could, hit the like button and subscribe. If you're on Instagram, you can follow me at Robby_upgrade. So let's keep watching movies, and thanks for checking out the channel.